if you've spent any time at all tracking the digital asset space recently, you know exactly what the biggest story is.
Oh, yeah.
The devastating Trust Wallet security event. We're talking about a browser extension hack that wasn't just, small potatoes. This was a targeted, effective attack.
It resulted in millions of dollars, right? The figure I saw was around $7 million.
$7 million reportedly just drained from unsuspecting user wallets.
And this deep dive is, I think, just absolutely crucial for anyone operating in this space.
It has to be.
This incident forces us all to move past the usual rhetoric and, truly analyze the blurred lines between that promise of decentralization.
Right, self-custody.
Self-custody on one side, and then the cold, hard need for some kind of centralized, robust security intervention when those ideals tragically fail.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We're going to distill what happened, the mechanism behind it. We'll dive into why this specific type of exploit is so critical for the industry's growth right now.
And most importantly,
we'll equip you, the learner, with the practical steps you need to take to protect your assets.
and let's be really clear about the severity here. This wasn't just a basic user error.
Not at all.
This challenged the core assumption that so many people in crypto hold, this idea that self-custody itself, be your own bank, inherently makes you unassailable.
Right.
This proved that the tools of self-custody, specifically these third-party interfaces, are anything but.
Okay, let's unpack this. What was the exact vulnerability? Because the sources all suggest this wasn't a standard phishing email tricking people into clicking a bad link.
No.
This was far more insidious, right?
It was. This exploit followed a pattern that security professionals just dread. It's a supply chain attack.
A supply chain attack.
Yeah, early analysis suggests the attacker managed to compromise the delivery mechanism for a browser extension update.
So wait.
Think of it like a malicious actor infiltrating the software factory itself, not just the front door. They snuck a corrupted update into the stream.
So the user, in this case, could have done everything right. They used the official extension, they clicked update when prompted, but they ended up installing malware because the official delivery route itself was poisoned.
Precisely. The moment that corrupted version of the extension was installed, it became a ticking time bomb.
Ooh.
The sources indicate that this malicious code was designed to get at highly sensitive wallet data. There are really two primary risks here, and they both lead to the same result.
A drained wallet.
A drained wallet.
So what are those two main risks in this context?
Well, the first is the most catastrophic, sort of long-term risk.
Yeah.
Harvesting the user's seed phrase.
The keys to the kingdom.
Exactly. If the corrupted code could access memory or key inputs, it might have just captured the seed phrase the moment the user entered it. And that gives the attacker permanent total control.
And the second risk?
The second is quicker and arguably just as frightening. It's getting immediate signing permissions. Browser extensions are designed to be that middleman, right? They're ready to approve transactions when you click sign. If the extension is compromised, the malware can just bypass the user entirely and authorize its own transactions.
So it drains the wallet instantly without even needing the seed phrase.
Just by acting on your behalf.
What's fascinating here is that classifying this as a supply chain exploit, it fundamentally shifts the conversation, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It moves the focus completely away from, user education, stop clicking sketchy links, and it puts it squarely on the integrity of the vendor.
It does. Security experts are sounding the alarm because this highlights a systemic weakness in how we distribute software in Web3. It raises these major, uncomfortable questions about the checks and controls protecting the software delivery itself.
Like, how do you prove the code you're running is the code the developers actually wrote?
That's it. This just screams for standardized security protocols across all wallet interfaces.
And for the user, the reality of this is just, it's gut-wrenching. Unlike a phishing attempt where you might catch yourself, with this, users often only notice days or weeks later.
When the funds are already gone.
Exactly. You see these strange withdrawals on an Explorer, and you're reacting to the consequence of a breach that happened invisibly in the background. It's a complete violation of trust. So let's pivot to the response. Trust Wallet, and specifically its co-founder, who significantly is the former Binance CEO, he came out and immediately owned the situation.
Which was the right move.
Acknowledged the $7 million loss, and then they did something pretty profound. They promised reimbursement.
To affected users who fill out claim forms.
And that action, the promise of a centralized reimbursement, that's the critical paradox here, isn't it?
Yeah.
It challenges the whole ideology of self-custody.
It absolutely does, because on one hand, users celebrate sovereignty, right?
Yeah.
I don't need bailouts. I don't need the traditional finance institutions.
Right, my keys, my crypto.
But then, when something goes profoundly wrong, who do they look to for a helping hand? They look to the centralized figureheads, the corporate structure of the project team to rescue them.
It's the ultimate irony. We cherish the freedom of being our own bank until our funds disappear, and then suddenly we want that safety net.
We want that FDIC-style insurance, even if it's informal.
Even if it's just the project leadership trying to save face.
And it creates what economists call a moral hazard. If users know that a massive, well-funded entity like Trust Wallet or Binance might bail them out, it kind of reduces the personal imperative to maintain ironclad security.
It softens the edges of that responsibility.
The ideological purity of self-custody demands that security is 100% the user's burden. When the project steps in with a $7 million check, they fundamentally compromise that narrative.
But to push on that, if they hadn't stepped up, wouldn't the reputational damage have been fatal? Wouldn't that have just killed Trust Wallet's credibility forever?
Oh, it's a necessary emergency response. Absolutely. I'm not arguing against that. But it reinforces this fundamental truth we need to grapple with.
Which is?
In a space valued in the trillions, the expectation of some form of centralized accountability, or at least a deep-pocketed entity to absorb catastrophic loss, it remains essential for mainstream adoption. The market demands a fallback.
I think we have to agree, no matter how you look at it, this event threw a massive wrench into the perceived invulnerability of self-custody tools.
For sure.
It forces the conversation to shift from, are banks necessary, to something much more granular.
To, are robust, independently audited, centralized intermediaries necessary to secure the decentralized world? That's the real question. And the timing of this hack makes the fallout just exceptionally disruptive. We have to consider the broader context.
Crypto isn't a niche movement anymore.
Not at all. First, the market is aggressively warming up to institutional players. Massive funds, banks, corporations, they all demand predictable risk management.
They can't tolerate this kind of black swan event from a simple software update. If you're an institution looking at Web3, a $7 million drain like this is exactly what sends you running back to regulated custodians.
Exactly. And second, the industry is already facing heavy regulatory scrutiny worldwide.
MiCA in Europe.
You've got frameworks like MiCA that are focused precisely on consumer protection and operational resilience. When the industry suffers a highly publicized supply chain attack, it just hands regulators a powerful argument for more control.
It suggests the tools can't protect consumers on their own.
And this focuses the lens squarely on what we call the middleware problem.
Let's break that down for the listener.
Yep.
Browser extensions are the prime target precisely because they occupy this vital middle ground, correct?
Yes, they're the unavoidable middleman. They have to interpret and mediate between you, the user, and the DApp, the smart contract.
They're showing you transaction details, they're processing those critical signing prompts.
And if that indispensable middleman, that bridge to the blockchain, is compromised, everything just falls apart. What was a theoretical risk suddenly becomes a very costly, immediate reality. The entire security model breaks.
And this is why the hack reignites that fundamental debate. We've spent years criticizing exchanges for being centralized honeypots.
And rightly so.
But now, decentralized wallet interfaces are equally under fire. It all points back to a massive structural failing.
The lack of industry-wide, standardized security frameworks and truly mandatory independent audits.
Right now, those are seen as optional extras, not necessities.
A nice to have, not a must have, and that has to change.
Okay, let's shift focus. From the industry's headache to the learner's immediate survival guide. If this event is a lesson, what are the practical takeaways for keeping your, let's call it, crypto payroll secure?
The main lesson is you have to treat wallet updates with the same gravity as high-stakes transactions.
They aren't just background patches anymore.
No, they represent a fundamental security decision you are making.
Okay, so first essential step. Check versions and wait.
Yes, you have to ensure updates are coming from official sources. But even then, it's worth waiting.
So don't just click update the second it pops up.
No. Read the social chatter, monitor the main channels for a few hours, even a day. If there's a problem, the community will find it fast.
Second, and this is probably the biggest one, invest in hardware wallets.
Non-negotiable. For any serious amount of cash, your private keys have to be kept offline. The whole point of a browser extension is hot interaction, which means it's exposed. You have to physically air-gap your savings.
And air-gapped just means the private key never, ever touches a device connected to the internet.
Exactly. That makes these kinds of software attacks largely irrelevant to your primary keys.
Okay, third point.
Separate your funds. Don't put all your eggs in one compromised basket. Spread your holdings over different addresses, different wallet types.
Hardware versus hot wallet.
Right. It minimizes the risk of one corrupted extension taking out your entire stack.
Fourth, safeguard those seed phrases physically. This feels like Crypto 101, but it's so important here.
It bears repeating. Your seed phrase needs to be strictly offline and physically protected. If you stored it anywhere digitally, a cloud drive, a note on your desktop, you've just created another easy path for the attacker.
You've doubled your failure point. And finally,
stay alert and act fast. If you see chatter about drains or weird behavior, discontinue using that extension immediately. No. Revoke permissions, uninstall it, and move your funds to a safe address or a hardware wallet right away. It's a race against time.
So while these steps don't guarantee 100% safety, they do dramatically lower your chances of hitting that single point failure.
The goal is to make yourself a much harder target.
Now let's get back to accountability, because this demands a real attitude adjustment from the providers.
The community demand for a transparent investigation is loud and it's warranted.
Silent patch. Would they just fix it and say, we're fine now, that won't cut it this time? Users need solid, verifiable answers. They need timelines, proof of process changes. This is about rebuilding trust from the foundation up.
And that requires radical transparency.
In the broader wallet scene, they need to completely rethink how they deliver their product. Standardization has to become the norm.
If they want to appeal to regulators and institutional players, it must.
So what concrete steps should the industry be implementing right now?
Well, there are several key measures. First, comprehensive supply chain verification, making sure every step of the process is monitored and cryptographically verified.
So an attacker can't inject code midstream.
Second, and this is critically important, is reproducible builds.
Let's define that simply for the listener.
It means that if you, the user, download the source code and run the build process yourself, the resulting program will be identical, bit for bit, to the program the developer is officially distributing.
So anyone can verify that the code they're running is exactly the code that was promised.
No backdoors, no malicious code slipped in. It's a powerful defense.
That feels like it should be standard practice already.
It should. Combine that with mandatory independent security audits and robust tamper detection. The industry has to realize that security can't be an afterthought. It has to be the core feature.
And this is where the high-level philosophy comes back down to earth. Crypto rose on this idea of sovereignty, right? The idea that you control your money. But that foundation only stands strong if the tools are unassailably strong.
And the Trust Wallet hack shows that when the middleware fails, the whole philosophical model is endangered. The industry simply has to step up its game to retain user trust and ensure crypto's staying power.
So to recap, we've covered the shock of the supply chain exploit, the uncomfortable paradox of centralized reliance in a decentralized world, and the non-negotiable need for industry-wide security standardization.
Especially around that middleware problem. And this whole event leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to mull over. If we, as users, now have to treat every single wallet update, every browser extension, with the same paranoia and vigilance as a multi-million-dollar banking wire, are we truly gaining the efficiency and freedom that crypto promised?
That's a heavy question.
Or are we just trading the slow, regulated risks of traditional banking for a new, complex type of intense, 24/7 personal liability? What does true self-sovereignty really look like when the underlying tools can be so easily compromised and the only solution seems to be perpetual hypervigilance? That's the question the industry has to answer next.